Hello, and welcome to the cavnessHR podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. Our guest today is Nicole Solis. Nicole, are you ready to be great today?
I sure am, Jason.
Nicole is a dedicated wife to an active duty airman, mother to a very active 2-year-old boy, business owner over at Canolie Creations, Fort Sam Houston's Military Spouse of the Year, and overall wear many hats. Nicole, thank you for being here today. What's keeping you busy right now? What are you focused on?
Oh man, so when you mention I'm the wearer of many hats, that doesn't even begin to explain all the things I'm focused on and doing right now, because I truly do wear lots of hats. So aside from my business owner hat, I'm also a key spouse over at my husband's squadron. So I'm responsible for being the liaison between his command team and the family members of the squadron. So I host events and just overall bring morale to the squadron. And that comes with a lot. And actually yesterday I was presented by the group commander for being key spouse of the quarter. So that's a big thing for me right now, is making sure that I can live up to the expectations and of the command team. And so that's that one aspect. And then I'm also Fort Sam Houston's Military Spouse of the Year. So I try to represent the JBSA and Fort Sam Houston area as best as I can. And then my business owner hat, I hand make military support accessories. So I make things such as hair bows, keychains, pretty much anything else that could be sewn and put together by hand out of mainly military uniform fabrics. So I have every branch's fabric, and I make something for everyone.
Do you hand make everything yourself, or you have a team
I sure
that helps
do.
you out?
Nope, everything is just me, and I do everything I can to keep my 2-year-old out of it, which is another full-time job.
Nicole, on your LinkedIn, it says that you're a fierce lover of all things fabulous. What does that mean?
So it's just such a loaded statement, because I just love everything that's fabulous. If it's food and it's fabulous, I'm all over it. If it's a travel destination and it's fabulous, I'm all over it. If it's great, I'm all over it. I treat my friends and family like gold, and because that's what they are to me, precious gold. So to me, that's something great, and I'm a fierce lover of all of it. If we can do it together and make memories from it, love it even more.
Nicole, can you talk a little about the process you went through and decided to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I started my business back in 2014. My husband had gotten orders overseas, and I was still back home in college, finishing my degree. And I am from a place that military doesn't really exist. So for reference, I'm from New York City. So it's just really not a big hub for military. Sure, there are people that are in the military or veterans, but it's not like where we live now, Military City, USA in San Antonio. The military family population is definitely few and far between in New York. So I was looking for some way to still feel connected to the military community and to my spouse who was away. And he had left an old uniform back at home before he went overseas that was meant for the trash probably. But I was like, hey, I'm pretty crafty. I could probably make something out of this and, carry it with me every day or something. So I ended up making a keychain embroidered with his last name on it. So it looks like his name tape basically. And I've had that on my keys every single day for 5 years now. When I made that first one, I was like, you know what? I guarantee you, I'm not the only one who wants to show support for their service member, whether it be their spouse, a family member, or whatever. So I started posting them on my Instagram, and people went crazy. I was the only one doing something like this. So my business just kind of organically blew up. Instagram was amazing at the time, where if you posted something, everyone who followed you was going to see it no matter what. And my entire business was run through Instagram. And at the time, between 2014 and 2016, I had handmade over 10,000 items. So when you're talking about items that are literally like 5 to 6 inches big, think about making 10,000 of those. It's a lot. So fortunately and unfortunately, I finally finished my degree in 2016 and was finally able to follow my husband overseas. When we moved overseas, though, there's a lot of agreements and laws and basically hoops that you have to jump through in order to continue a business. And unfortunately, I could not continue to run my business while overseas. So I had to go on a hiatus, and we moved back to the States, here to San Antonio, about 1.5 years ago. And so that's when I relaunched. And unfortunately, it's been so hard because so many things have changed since I went on my hiatus. Instagram and Facebook algorithms are just getting increasingly harder to work with. And I have over 4,000 followers on my Instagram page. Maybe 5 people will see one of my posts nowadays. So unfortunately, getting back into it has been really rough, but I was fortunate enough to attend the Military Influencer Conference in DC last month. And it really lit a fire under me to put my all behind it and not get discouraged by algorithms and try to learn how to beat them.
Yes. So how long have you and your husband been in the military?
He's been in for 7.5 years.
And how often have y'all had to move during that time period?
3 times. We've
3
PCS
times, yeah.
3 times.
I think a lot of people who are not involved in the military don't realize how many times we have to move in the military. That they have no clue, no concept.
No, and unfortunately, every time you move, it brings upon a whole new set of problems. So moving from one state to the other with the kind of business that I run, not too big of a deal, right? Except you're waiting weeks for your household goods to arrive, and you're putting a whole house back together, and you have kids that you're trying to, get acclimated, and then it turns into 6 months just to get your business up and running again, because how do you get right back into your daily grind when you're living somewhere you're not familiar with, right? So that takes time. And then of course, if you PCS, which is permanent change of station, when military moves, for those listeners that don't know, when you PCS overseas, like I said, it's a whole other host of situations. I physically couldn't run my business there because you can't use your mailing address there for profit. So I physically would not be able to mail my customers packages from Germany, which stinks.
And then if you're a military spouse, I think another thing about employment for military spouses, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but I think the unemployment rate for military spouses is at least around 22%. It's always been the highest. People don't realize that because most military spouses have a bachelor's degree, but they can't find anything because, like my wife had a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She never worked in the field because, we're in Germany, Italy, Korea, not many positions for, parole officers, probation officers over there, and that's another challenge I think that military spouses have, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. Because of course, especially if you're living overseas, your first idea is to try to get a job on base, right? You speak the language, you understand the processes and et cetera, but you're all trying to do the same thing. So those jobs are few and far between. People have been in the positions forever. They're not leaving them anytime soon. And so there you go. Your opportunity to work on base is slim to none. And then try working out on the local economy where you don't speak the language. Good luck. So especially for military spouses overseas, it's not just hard, but close to impossible. So that's another reason why I really hoped I would still be able to run my business while there, but unfortunately that didn't work out. But I was fortunate enough to have started a job back in my home state in New York right out of college that allowed me to continue working remotely while I was overseas. So I was still able to bring in an income. It wasn't much, but it was something. And that's the other thing. Not only are military spouses unemployed, but we're also severely underemployed. So the rate of underemployment for military spouses is somewhere around the 80% range, which is crazy.
That's a good point. I remember when I was in Italy, all the cashiers, the commissary, all had master's degrees.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Like, this is crazy. Like, they have master's degrees. They be a cashier. Like, oh my god, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So, what have been some of the challenges of being a military spouse and an entrepreneur?
So definitely the moving. I really do believe that had we not gone overseas, and let me just preface by saying living overseas was the best thing that ever happened to us. And if we could go back tomorrow, I would drop everything and go. So let me just make that very clear. But unfortunately, when it comes to my entrepreneurial efforts, that really put a monkey wrench into everything, because had I been able to stay consistent with my business and not go on a hiatus, I probably would have learned along the way how to combat all the issues with social media as they came, instead of literally being out of it for a few years and coming back into a totally new beast. So that is definitely a big problem that us military spouse entrepreneurs can face. But also, you know, we struggle with getting connected into our new communities, I think, sometimes. So back in the day when I was in New York, all of my customers were not local. I had to ship every single order because, like I said before, nobody military affiliated lives in New York. So every order was being shipped. But now here in San Antonio, I know that there's a huge local market for me. And trying to breach into that market and into that community is a whole new beast, because you're not just an entrepreneur, you're also a spouse, a mom, a friend, a daughter, all these things. So you don't want to just come in guns blazing, hey y'all, I'm new to San Antonio, buy my stuff. You don't want to just do that. You want to make genuine real life connections too. And unfortunately, that's harder to do than you'd think if you move to a new city every few years where you have no one.
So you're pretty active in the military community there. Do most people realize that you're all in your business, or do some people have the attitude, oh, this is a hobby she's doing, or a side hustle, or just something she's doing to buy the time?
I think most people that know me know that my 100% main focus is my family, and that is never going to change. So my husband, unfortunately, for the last 7.5 years, has worked nights and weekends. So all of my friends and acquaintances and clients know that my family comes first. So I'm always with my son because my husband's asleep during the day, right? Because he sleeps at night and works on weekends. So I am mom 24/7, 100% of the time. So everyone knows that that's my main priority, and I am never going to choose my business over my family. So if I have family things going on and my husband's working more hours or late or is going TDY or is going to these trainings or whatever, my family's going to come first. So I guess long story short, I even view it as a little bit of a side hustle, because I am willing to drop it tomorrow if it interferes with my family. And I think that's what sets me apart from a lot of entrepreneurs, because maybe more people would fight for their business. But it's not my first priority. I love doing it and I would love to see it succeed, and I love to see when it does well. But my first priority is what's right here at home.
So Nicole, so your long-term vision for your company, do you see like 5-10 years from now, you just keep on going like you're doing? Or do you see a time where you like, you know, you can scale, like you like hire people on to do what you're doing and grow it more? Or you just think you keep on doing what you're doing now?
No, I definitely see growth. I absolutely see growth, or at least I hope. That's exactly what I would love to do. So, but at the same time, I don't want a staff that's making the items for me. I still really enjoy hand making the items. So if I could hire a team to handle all the clerical stuff and the behind the scenes type deal, that I would love. If I could just full time be behind a sewing machine myself.
So explain the process of making an item. Like I see you saw like bow ties or ribbons. Ones it's like, so explain the process. Like how do you get the material? Like where do you order it from? That whole process.
So I have wholesale suppliers that I've been working with since 2014. So they pretty much send me emails when they're like, hey, you're probably out of OCP fabric soon. They pretty much work with me on that. But then, you know, it's a whole cutting process of cutting my things to size and making sure that the cuts make sense. If it's a crappy cut that doesn't really show the camo fabric very, very well, then it doesn't get used, and it gets used for maybe something smaller or something else. And then I am trying, my huge thing used to be custom orders. And of course, the more I sell, the harder it is to keep up with custom orders all the time. I still accept custom orders, but I really am trying to just make a stock and then post them and sell them, like list them online. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm making what I like and seeing, okay, if what I like, what other people like, or just kind of judging that right now. And it's doing pretty well, I think. So, but I'm a one-woman show, so everything that you see online is all me.
Yes. So, how has social media been helping you out? I know you talk about Instagram. I think I saw you on Pinterest too. How has social media helped you out growing your business?
So social media is the reason I even have a business. Like I mentioned before, 100% of my sales were through Instagram. So 2014 to 2016, all Instagram, best thing ever. That's how I got the word out. It's how I built awareness of my brand. But nowadays, it's rough out here in these streets, these Instagram streets. So don't I haven't been relying solely on social media anymore. Since I sell a physical product, I've been working a lot on attending more physical events where I can set up a display and sell my items, and those have been doing really well for me. But I will say, if I had to pick one thing that's been helping me on social media, is creating a Facebook group for my brand. So a group is a place where you can advertise for free, and everyone in your group is going to see them no matter what. So you don't have to combat, having to pay for an ad for your followers to actually see your post. So I definitely recommend small business owners, entrepreneurs, to create a Facebook group for their brand, but not just a Canolie Creations group. Come join me and see pictures of my products in this group. No one wants to join that group. That's lame. You need to create a group that symbolizes what you stand for. So I stand for military spouses and military families. And so my group is Let's Talk Military Life. So if you want to search for it, go ahead, join it. Would love to have you. And we talk about things that are having to do with military life. If you need support, your spouse is deployed, your son is deployed, you just had a baby and you're in a place that you don't know anyone, whatever that comes along with military life, I'm here to talk to you about it, because I genuinely want to see other military spouses succeed and feel supported. So within that group, I'm able to, throw little plugs in for my business. But really what it does is the people that are in my group get to know my name, and they get to see that I'm more than trying to sell them something. They know me from having these deep conversations with them on Facebook in these groups. I want to know where you're from. Tell me about your hometown. How many kids do you have? Do they go to karate? I don't know. Whatever it is, we just talk about all things military life. And maybe when they have a hair bow or a keychain or accessory need, I'll be the one they come to because they know me.
And not only that, you'll have all those brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
Nicole, in your mind, who is your perfect customer?
So that is so hard, because my business is very highly gift based too. So a lot of people buy my products as gifts for someone else. So if I had to choose someone, it would probably be somewhat a female, between the ages of 18 to 35, sort of like that younger military spouse who is either brand new to military life at 18, or is, having kids at the ages between 18 and 35, and they're buying stuff for their kids. But mostly females, for sure. Fellow military spouses.
Nicole, can you share your social media for yourself and your company so people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So you can follow me at Canolie Creations on Facebook and Instagram. It's CANOLIE Creations. And that's Facebook, Instagram. My Facebook group, like I mentioned, is Let's Talk Military Life. I would love to have you in there to just be a part of the conversation, the military spouse, military family narrative. And then my website is canoliecreations.com, and it'll link you to my Etsy.
And for our listeners, we have the link to her social media and her website on our show notes. And you can find the show notes at www.cavnessHRblog.com. Nicole, we're coming to the end of our talk. Can you give our listeners any advice or wisdom or anything you want to talk about?
Yes. So if you're listening to this and you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur, I really urge you to specifically write down what your priorities are. And that's not just for your business. I want you to prioritize every single aspect of your life, because I struggled a lot with priority management. And when I started listing out my priorities, I realized what came first to me. And like I mentioned before, my family is what comes first. So when you list out your priorities, you'll see very clearly where you need to put most of your focus and what can kind of take the back burner. So that's my biggest piece of advice for fellow entrepreneurs.
Nicole, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great.